And the dad is an interesting character
He
too,
is.
because he's very very likable.
And the dad.
Oh, Jesus Christ! What is happening? How does your mouth smell worse than your anus?
It doesn't.
What's it
My
that?
anus.
Oh my God! Welcome back to Movie of the Week. We are on our fourth or fifth week of consecutively recording, so it really is Movie of the Week right now.
I know.
We just have to make sure that we post them. So my name is Will. I'm also known as Fat Boy to most people. Some people call me Daddy. And your name is? You're the only person who calls me Fatty.
Really?
And sometimes you're Fatty. You don't even know who's who. You just indiscriminately call both of us
That's
Fatty.
true. I'm Mike, aka Hog Lord, Don Lope de Hog, Hogus Supremus,
Don Lope one kills me. What about Hog Sweet Hog?
Higgis Hogus,
Hogwanzo?
Hogwanzo, yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit here shortly. I wanted to do a horror film, so what I wanted was like a 70s or 80s horror film. And so I searched for 70s.
Why 70s and 80s? Because of
I don't know.
only decades you've...
No, that was just what I was feeling
Or
like.
early 90s?
So I searched for a horror film in there. Alice Sweet Alice popped up, and I'd seen that name before, and I kind of wanted to watch it before. And so I was like, all right, this is probably a good time to do this. Yeah, we did Alice Sweet Alice, which is 1976.
I have never heard of this movie, like ever.
It's like it's billed as a slasher, but I guess we could talk about.
a slasher movie?
I didn't think it was either a slasher or a horror film.
Yeah, it's really kind of like a mystery.
It's like a psychological thriller more.
Yeah.
So I was expecting a giallo kind of style slasher film, like Deep Red or Suspiria or something like that. I was expecting a whole bunch of kills that are really bloody but fake looking blood, because that's the style back then. And that's not really what this film was. It also wasn't a horror film. Like it was.
No, it's really
It was
not.
eerie and suspenseful,
And it's dark.
but it wasn't scary. So that was interesting.
It was interesting. One of the things that occurred to me while I was watching the film is there are similar elements to Halloween
Yeah.
and
A little
other
bit.
films from that era, and yet it does not feel like those movies.
Right.
It feels very much like a drama, thriller, like a dark kind of mystery. Like a movie that I thought of at some point while I was watching it was Mystic River, because that's about, well, we'll tell you what this movie is about, but Mystic River is about children disappearing, children being murdered, and these people, these adults who have like past trauma, trying to deal with what's going on while also like reliving. And so it's like dark and it's disturbing, but it's just kind of like a thriller, right? And that's what I thought of. So the plot of this movie, and we should also say it has two other titles: Communion, which is apparently the original title, and then it was also released. So Brooke Shields is in this movie, and briefly, yeah. But once she became popular, this movie was re-released under the name Holy Terror.
Oh, that makes sense.
So it was directed by Alfred Soule, who co-wrote the script with Rosemary Ritvo. And what's interesting about that, and we will get into the movie in a second, is he was an architect, and he was working in Paterson, New Jersey, which is where the movie takes place, restoring old buildings.
Okay.
She was his neighbor, who was a PhD student at Fordham in New York City, because Paterson is in North Jersey, near like across from New York. And they would talk a lot about movies, and they would talk about the fact that they were both raised Catholic, and they come up with the idea for the movie and wrote the script together. And he didn't really have much experience as a filmmaker, so he cast like whoever he could find around and stuff like that. He used the buildings he was restoring in Paterson as an architect, as the locations, which I thought was kind of cool. There's a family. It's a mom and two daughters. The dad has left and has a new wife, and the older daughter she's problematic for the mom. She like causes trouble. She has like tantrums. She doesn't listen. She does things that really upset her younger sister and stuff like that. And the younger sister has her first communion. They're a Catholic family, and she's murdered like just before the communion. Right? She's like dragged off and choked to death, and like her corpse is burned, and like it's kind of nasty. And so the cops start to suspect Alice, who's the older daughter. The dad comes back into town, and the mom and dad are totally convinced that it wasn't her. And they know that people think that she's disturbed or there's something wrong with her, but they're 100% convinced that she could not have murdered her own sister.
And at first, the cops and people think that she knows something. They don't really suspect her in the beginning, but they want to talk to her because maybe she saw something.
Right.
Because she has the dead sister's veil, right?
Yeah.
On her, and which she says she just picked up.
Yeah.
So they want to see if
The communion veil.
Yeah. So they want to see if maybe she saw something or something like that. But then later on, as things happen, they begin to suspect her.
But the parents maintain that she's innocent the whole time. And so the cops are like kind of building this case, and the parents are trying to prove her innocence, and it kind of develops from there. It was very different than I expected it to be, and I liked it a lot more than I thought I would, honestly. I thought it would be like a throwaway kind of slasher movie, and I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I was not expecting what we saw. I was expecting, like I said, either a straight up slasher film or like more of a horror film. I got into the mystery of it, trying to figure out who is the killer, why are they killing this person?
Because it's interesting because
this family's targeted.
It feels as though it's very clearly a red herring type of thing. It's too obvious that it's the girl. But they make it so obvious that you're like, is it really just obvious? Like, there was a point at which I was like, is it really just the obvious answer? And it's so obvious I'm suspecting it's not. But they do interesting things with it.
They do. Yeah. And when the aunt is leaving and she's
stabbed in the foot, that's when I knew too, because she's wearing the different clothing.
But also she's way bigger than the kid.
She's physically bigger. Yeah.
She's just like, bigger, wider.
In that scene, you see her walking up the stairs and you see her shoes and the hem of her dress, and they're not the same as the girl.
That and just the physicality. She's bigger, she's different. But I think they do.
Although I will say, I had no idea. I didn't know who it was. And when the reveal came, I was like, what?
Yeah, I was, and then it made more sense later on as they explained it more.
Yeah.
But so I knew it wasn't her, but I still wanted to know. She's still acting weird. So are they in on it?
Right.
How is she involved? I didn't think she did the actual kills, but I was like, she's got to be involved or attached to it in some way. And that's what I wanted to find out, right? So it was really interesting. So basically, yeah, I mean, she's suspected and they take her away to like a mental hospital to do tests and things like that. And then the rest of the film is her dad first. He comes back and then he's like an amateur detective trying to figure it out on his own.
And the dad is an interesting character too, because he's very very likable.
Yeah.
And
like you'd assume he'd come back and be like a dick, like he abandoned his wife and stuff.
Or they would have problems or like, but like Alice really wants him back. Like she really misses him.
She likes the dad more.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What is happening? How does your mouth smell worse than your anus?
It doesn't.
My anus oh my God. What is happening?
It smells way worse.
I can't take my hand off my nose.
It's bad.
It's like breathing in like a corpse reak. Like someone cut open a corpse in front of my face, and
like
it's all
blooded corpse. It's the gas.
Yes, just swarming.
And it just like sticks there like a solid.
It's going into my holes.
Violating your holes.
Okay.
Speaking of violating holes, can we talk about Alfonso now or later?
Okay, so why don't you tell everyone who Alfonso is?
So we meet a series of different characters throughout the film.
And the apartment building they live in is such a shithole.
It's a really shithole.
It is like the stairs in the building.
Crappy.
No, but did you notice that the stairs are each one is like bowed in the middle from so many people walking up and down it? Like the building is like falling apart. Yeah.
So Alfonso is their landlord, and he lives below them. And he's this big, like morbidly obese.
He's huge.
Slob, dirty, filthy teeth. Sweat stains in his crotch area and everywhere else.
And what is his apartment filled with?
His apartment's filled with filth and cats.
Cats.
Like little kittens. He likes little kittens.
He's sort of a little bit like you.
Yeah.
You're not obese like he is.
No.
But you're large. You're physically large. You're filthy. And your apartment is filled with cats. So there's a lot of similarities.
And all he does is basically just like sit in his apartment. He doesn't go out. He listens to music. He puts cats. He sleeps. And in his free time, he purrs on the 12-year-old.
Well, so this is what's interesting, though, because... And this is why I think this movie is a lot smarter than I expected it to be. I mean, this is just one example of this, but like, we don't see him being inappropriate towards her. until towards the end.
Yeah.
She's mean to him.
She's really mean.
So then that
she calls him fatty.
Right. She's like, hey, fatty, fuck you. And she's like, she plays pranks on him. And she's like, and so there's a part of you that thinks
she almost looks like she's purposely seducing him too. A little bit.
So you think that she's disturbed, but then there's a scene where she goes to give him the rent check and he pins her against the wall and is like rubbing on her and stuff. And she says, this is the second time you've done this to me. And so like slowly throughout the movie, you start to see all of these things that had you known them before, you would automatically think, oh, Alice is like disturbed.
Yeah.
But because we learn them slowly over the course of the movie, it's like, we right away we look at her and we think she's disturbed somehow, but then you start to realize that there's actually all this really bad shit that like she loved her dad and her dad left and that was really hard for her now. And there's also like a very strong feminist strain in this movie where Alice has started menstruating, right? And she didn't tell her mom. And her mom's like, why didn't you tell me you had your period and all this stuff? So you take that, the fact that she's started her period, but her mom doesn't know, she's trying to hide it. You take the fact that she's really interested in her little sister's stuff. She wants to wear her veil. She has her...
she's almost jealous of her sister because
her sister's the innocent one who gets all the attention.
Yeah, her sister gets all the attention, yeah.
But also combined with the fact that multiple men are creepy as hell towards her, right? The old Mr. Alfonso tries to molest her or whatever. The cops, when she's being interrogated, are talking about her tits and like creepy ass shit, right? And then when there's this part where she goes to like a psychiatric facility, the security guard there has this creepy old man like oogling her. And so you look at the fact that she started having her period. She started being sexualized by all these creepy ass old men. She wants to be more like her sister, who is innocent, prepubescent, not sexualized by creepy men, thought of as like this cute little girl, right? And it's like she's fighting against, she's reverting in a way to innocence, or she's lashing out because she's reached the age at which she is no longer this sweet little girl. She's a sexual object to men. And so her life has like irrevocably been changed, and she wants to go back to the way it was before, the way her sister is treated as this very sweet girl, as opposed to being either you have to accept the fact that we are going to sexualize you and objectify you, and then if you lash out against that, then you're problematic, and and so it's this really interesting look, I think, at girls becoming women and the way in which men go from being like, oh, such a sweet, innocent little girl, to being like, oh, did you see the tits on that one? When she's like 12. It's so creepy.
And I'm not smiling because of that. In the middle of your talk, I remember the burp.
Like, he's like...
Dude, I couldn't stop laughing because of the horrible stench.
Horrible stench.
But yeah, and then the only person that she really does like her dad, he gets killed, and his murder is probably the most brutal in the film.
The stabbing of the aunt is pretty violent.
It's pretty violent. So like, there's not a lot. So like, when I say I expected a straight up slasher giallo film, this differs because there's not really a high body count.
No,
but when the kills do happen, they're pretty violent and prolonged, right? Like the aunt stabbing, like normally you'd expect. So she's going down the stairs, she gets stabbed in the thigh, right? And then she screams, and people come out, and you're like, all right, that's the end of it. But it's not. Like, she keeps stabbing. It's
very bloody.
And then she gets outside, and she gets stabbed in the foot. Like,
I thought that scene was incredible.
Yeah.
It's like pouring rain, and the car pulls up.
She's screaming.
Like, a very intense scene.
Exactly. And then with the dad, he follows this woman to an abandoned building. And she throws like a rock.
But
she stabs him first.
But doesn't he thinks he's meeting his niece.
He thinks,
right?
So he thinks his niece is the one that killed his daughter.
Yeah.
And he wants to help her and bring her in like that. So he goes to meet her. He gets stabbed in the collarbone. And then the killer runs upstairs and kind of hides behind a pillar. And he goes up there because he still thinks it's his niece, and he doesn't want to call the cops and like ruin her life. And he's trying to like reason with her and talk to her. He doesn't know that it's not his niece, right? And then she hits him in the head with like a rock.
It's a break.
Bashes him.
Yeah, she like bashes him.
She ties him up, and then she bashes him some more, and like And then she like slowly rolls him.
Well, because so they're in this building that was like a factory of some kind. So it has these massive wooden doors on each level and pulleys, right?
And it's just
it's a warehouse, type of space. So she opens up these big, massive wooden doors. It's almost like in is it Friday the 13th Part 3 where they're in the barn and there's those big story doors.
Like that kind of thing.
So she rolls him out this.
But that scene's awesome in the sense because like it's so prolonged and it's slow because she ties him up. She can't physically lift him. So she's like slowly rolling him like over and over. And each roll he's getting closer and closer to going out the window. And then he starts fighting back. He bites off a cross that she's wearing, a necklace, and he goes in his mouth. She's trying to get it back, and he's biting on it. He's like beating it.
That was really smart of him.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's like, I'm going to get some kind of evidence off of this person. So when they find my body. Yeah.
And then she finally pushes him out. But like, and he's like struggling and fighting and screaming. No, like it's a long, violent scene. So then her dad's dead, and it's like the last good guy she had in her life is gone pretty much. She doesn't really know right away because they don't tell her.
Yeah. Although the main priest is nice. But she doesn't seem to have much of a relationship with him though.
She doesn't, because the main priest mostly focuses on the younger daughter because she's getting her first communion. That was interesting too, because I was reading a little bit about this film after I watched it, and it's like, a lot of people said it's clearly an anti-Catholic film or has a lot of anti-Catholic overtones.
I think it just kind of examines it.
But then a lot of people found it interesting that with all that stuff in it, the priest is like, he's not bad. Like, he's a good guy. There's no instances where you think he's a creep. He doesn't do anything creepy. He's actively going out of his way to help these people, risking his life to help all these people, his flock. In a film that, if you say it's like an anti-Catholic film, you'd assume the main priest would be bad. Yeah. He's really not.
We see 3 priests, right? Or 4. 3 or 4.
Couple of them.
The main priest and the other younger one, the guy with like the reddish hair, they're both like good people.
They're all the priests.
Old guy is like a little.
He's a little like the old guy.
Yeah.
Well, he's obviously
dementia.
Yeah, he's obviously.
But what's interesting about that is that. Okay, so obviously, as we said, spoilers. I'm gonna spoil the whole movie right now. The woman who ends up being the killer is the caretaker of the priest's residence.
Yeah.
Right. She hates the family. Basically, she thinks they're sinners. Right. Because the divorce and because the mom was pregnant with Alice when they got married.
So a little history on her.
Yeah.
So she had a miscarriage, I believe. Right.
Her own daughter was.
Her own daughter died on her first communion. Right.
Yeah.
And she's bitter and resentful of that. And the only thing she has in her life now is the church. She's devoted to it. And so what she's doing is she wants to punish people in her community, in the flock, who go against the church.
Yeah.
So for her, that would be someone who has sex out of wedlock. So
and divorce,
right?
Yeah.
So Alice is born out of wedlock, right?
They got married when she was pregnant.
Right.
Yeah.
But they had sex before, and she knows it, right? And so that's why she's like punishing this family, right?
Yeah.
And I think they mentioned earlier that the sins of the parents are paid by the kids.
By the children, yeah.
Right. And so her other thing too is if that was it, you could be like, okay, she's clearly insane, but like she truly believes she's a good Catholic. She truly believes these people are sinners and she's punishing them.
And she doesn't think because they're sinners, she has this thing where they don't deserve communion. Right. So she's trying to stop them from having communion, which is why she kills the girl before the first.
But then you find out she has this unhealthy obsession with the priest.
Right.
She's sexually attracted to him. She's attracted to him. And she sees the mother getting closer to the priest. Early on in the film, and
she doesn't like that. Yeah,
and she doesn't like that,
and she thinks the mom's a harlot because she had sex.
Yeah,
wedlock.
So now it's like it switches from she's like she has a cause that she believes in, even though she's insane, to more of like she's crazy, and also she's jealous. It makes her worse.
She's masking her petty emotions with this like holier than thou thing,
which makes her worse and more evil.
Yeah,
right? If she was clearly batshit insane and doing these things because that's what she believed, it's one thing, but she's really not, right? I think the underlying thing is she's jealous, right? Because this woman has kids, this woman's getting close to the person she likes, she loves, and she's putting a stop to it. So she was an interesting. I also really like the fact that they reveal her about 2/3 of the way in the film.
Yeah.
Like
and then the third act becomes, we know, and now she must stop.
So I think that's interesting too, because like we've talked about this and you've talked about this, the old Hitchcock device where if you see a bomb under the table, but the characters don't. As the scene's playing out, you're constantly concerned because the bomb can go off and they don't know. That's the same thing with a killer, right? If we had with the whole film without knowing who it was and at the very end found out, the scenes where the mom goes to
Right.
the
And
residence,
then we know,
and we know she's the killer,
Yeah.
and she has a knife, it becomes way more intense and impactful than if we didn't know.
Exactly.
So I thought that was really
It was a really good
did that,
reveal.
yeah.
Yeah.